Building and planning a game is really hard. You want to know what platforms you'll be focusing on and how you will make money on them. Hi, I'm Bijoy and this is LearnCath. So you can build and ship your game on quite a few platforms these days. But which one should you choose? All of them? Depending on your scale, you might not be able to do all platforms, and here's why. One consideration could be the budget. Platforms have different fees to just ship a game on them, as well as specific requirements for quality, testing, etc. That means more work and more time before you can ship your game. Tools like Unity also require you to go into the premium mode to even build for consoles. Another consideration is the monetization. Different platforms have different monetization models, and your game may not fit into all of them. For instance, ads are not that common on PCs and consoles. The audiences across the platforms varies, and so do the expectations from the games. Input can make or break a game, and it is worth thinking if your game makes sense with a controller or touch or with a mouse. Different platforms also have different levels of immersion in them. For instance, a horror game on a mobile device just won't hit as hard as a console on a large television in your living room. Like and subscribe, and tell us what platforms do you play games most often on. Now let's dig into each platform one at a time. Note that these are general points, and you should do your research based on the specific game you're building. Also do look at platform policies because they keep changing as well. First up is mobile. Mobile tends to favor shorter play sessions compared to PCs and consoles. The input is also limited to touch for most people, which is not ideal if your game requires a lot of fast, precise controls. For instance, in Celeste or Street Fighter. You can always reimagine your game with different controls, but that can change the mood of the game, so you have to think about it. Performance is also an important thing on mobile. These devices can get hot and may not be able to render very high fidelity. You also have users with really old devices that may not be powerful enough, so keep your game simple and test performance frequently. We talked a little about immersion before. Screen sizes are small, and audio can be either muted or through not very good speakers. That might not be ideal for all games. Also on screen size, phones can have different aspect ratios now, with foldables and smaller form factors. Apple and Google have platform fees to start or continue publishing. Also, paying for games is not that common, which means free-to-play is often the case on mobile. This means you might have to rely on ads or in-app purchases to monetize your game. On a plus side, you do have an ability to use haptics and use re-engagement loops like notifications. All this lends mobile to be more suitable for casual and hyper-casual games, though lately RPGs, strategies, and shooters also do exist. Up next is PCs and Macs. Gameplay sessions on PCs are usually longer than on mobile. This means that you can build richer games or games that require a lot of repeated play. While generally PCs are much more performant than mobile, they do lie on a spectrum. Users could have weaker graphics cards or really high-end cards. This means that you might want to build the game with multiple fidelities in mind. The inputs on PCs are much more widespread. You could have controllers, keyboard, mouse, or even touch. While this is great, the controllers are not standardized. This can make fine-tuning your controllers really hard, and something you might want to consider. Screen sizes on PCs are fairly varied, including their aspect ratios, from 4:3 to sometimes even ultra-wide. Generally, PCs are very highly immersive. Players might have headphones or a large screen to get fully engrossed in the game. The monetization, though, is different. Players are more comfortable to pay for games, as well as DLCs, in-app purchases, or sometimes using subscriptions like the Xbox Pass. It's worth noting that games do have an expectation to last longer compared to mobile games. Platforms like Steam or Epic Store also have their own fees, which could be a consideration for you. Another consideration is that building for Mac might require you to have an Apple developer profile, as well as a Mac device to build and test on. All this lends itself for PC games to be fairly versatile, from strategies, RPGs, MMOs, to whatever you can imagine. We're going to skip talking about the web, but itch.io and WebGL enhancements has made it an increasingly viable choice to release games with good monetization in mind. Let's talk consoles. Similar to PCs, gameplay durations on consoles can be fairly large. Similarly, games can be immersive, especially if players are playing on larger screens with good audio systems. Input is a consideration though. Controllers are very versatile, but if your game requires very precise targeting, it might not be the best input system. Another thing to consider is your players are sitting far away from the screen, usually in rooms with various lighting conditions. With this means that very small text or fine details might get missed. If that's part of your core mechanic, you might have to think about it a little. I already mentioned how engines like Unity require you to be in the paid tier to build for consoles. This can be a meaningful expense if you don't yet have budgets to release. Consoles also have their own quality testing as well as requirements to even launch. You might want to look at policies for each of the consoles you are thinking about. The monetization on consoles is very similar to PCs. Players are comfortable paying for games as well as buying DLCs or using subscriptions like PlayStation Plus. All this means that games can be fairly versatile and is suited for games people can play comfortably on a couch, like RPGs, casual shooters, sports, action adventures, etc. Lastly, there is Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch is a bit peculiar, especially because it both acts like a mobile console as well as a docked-in console. This means that it has a broad range of gameplays, from short as well as long, variable levels of immersion based on which setup your player is playing. Since Switch offers a lot of Nintendo IP, which tends to be a lot more casual, it does have a large young audience. An important consideration for building on Switch is the performance of your game. Since it's a handheld console, similar to mobile, you want your game to be fairly performant, both when it is docked as well as when it is in the handheld mode. And similar to other consoles, you want to be controller first. The monetization models are similar to the other consoles. Switch also offers a lot of multiplayer capabilities, especially local multiplayer, and is very suitable for casual party games like Overcooked or Mario Kart. All this lends itself very suitable for platformers, Nintendo IPs, casual games, party games, and RPGs. I would love to know, what platforms are you targeting for your next game? Write down in the comments down below. Bye!